I've just bought my dream BMW E92 M3 project car, but the problem is I think I ended up bidding with my heart over my head, and I think I've overpaid for it.
But I couldn't help that, because for me, the E92 M3 is as good as it gets. The perfect balance between class and power, refinement and rawness. And it falls into that sweet spot where technology hadn't completely took over, but had done just enough to make these cars super livable and usable. And that, combined with one of the best engines of all time, makes this BMW M3, in my opinion, the best you can possibly get. But not mine. My one is in a sorry state. Because this car was previously crashed by the last owner and it's gone through the insurance and gone to the auctions at Copart, this means I was bidding against other individuals and companies to try and get this car as cheaply as I can. But as the bids kept climbing, I didn't want to miss out on this car.
Now, I can't give you one solid reason why I've never owned one of these before, but I think it's a combination of running costs, horror stories in regards to the rod bearings, and the cost of insuring one of these. But I'm getting on a little bit in life. I'm going to be 30 this year, so I thought it was about time I treated myself to my first BMW M3. But because I've tried to buy this car cheap and get it from Copart, that means there's a catch.
So when you buy a car from Copart, you don't get to see the car in the flesh or hear it running. All you get to see is a few photos and a few words to describe it, and that is it. So whenever you do buy a car from a salvage auction, every time you're pretty much taking a huge gamble.
We're hoping it don't start and go.
So when I got the car delivered to me by Ethan from Stealth Movements, the first thing we wanted to try and do was start it.
Yeah. Sick. Oh.
And when we got it going, it didn't sound good.
That didn't sound great.
Which is worrying, because these engines are fragile and the most expensive part of the car.
That sounds better. Sounded better that time. Must have not been started for a while, is it?
But my happiness was short-lived.
Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it.
And although the engine didn't have any obvious oil leaks or had lost any oil, the DCT cooler was letting out all of the transmission fluid, meaning that we're not going to be able to drive this off the trailer. So we had to cut one of the inner tie rods because it was bent and making the car unmovable, and get the car put into neutral without starting it, which you can do underneath the gear gator. Then all we had to do was slowly lower it off the trailer, and then we could start to look to get it inside. And the way we're going to have to do this is by manually steering the driver's side wheel by pushing and pulling it, but we can still steer the passenger side with the steering wheel. So with a bit of hard work, bit of graft, and a bit of brute force, we managed to get the car off the road and inside the garage. So now we can take a proper look at how badly damaged this car is.
So this E92 M3 has been involved in a front end collision, damaging not only the transmission cooler, headlights and front end, but also potentially the inner wing over here. And you can't really see inside here, but we've got bent lower arms, a bent inner tie rod, which we've had to cut to be able to steer the car a tiny bit. But I'm sure we're going to find much more wrong with this car. And that's because it's not a low mileage example. It's got 120,000 miles on the clock, which for one of these is a little bit high. But that's never put me off before. I'm sure we can turn this back into a really nice example. But if you don't know anything about these cars, let me give you a 30-second rundown and then we can get straight to work. Naturally aspirated 4-litre V8. Aluminium vented bonnet, plastic wings, M3 mirrors. It's got a dual clutch transmission, some sofas instead of bucket seats, a genuine carbon fibre roof. It's rear wheel drive and got a limited slip diff. And compared to your normal 3 Series, they're a slight wide body. So 414 horsepower in a slightly lighter, slightly wider rear wheel drive 3 Series with a diff. You know it's going to be good, and it's got an M in the name, so it doesn't get much better. So now you know the bullet points. Let's start fixing this car. So we've got to start somewhere around here. The transmission cooler's leaking, so we definitely need to change that and replace the gearbox oil inside the car. Then maybe we might be able to run it up and see what the condition of the engine's like. Ethan is the man when it comes to M3s. He's got like absolutely everything I could ever need. So he knows everything that I need to know. So I'm just going to leave this one to you, I think.
Yeah, we'll just crack on. We'll have it done today.
Let's get this done.
So the logical place to start is by stripping off all of the broken parts. So we start taking off the slam panel and all the bolts out for the wings. But the car was positioned slightly awkwardly in the garage, so we couldn't really get it up on the ramp. So we wanted to move the front end round, and to do that we could pick the front wheel up for the driver's side and put a skate underneath, and then jack up the passenger side, and then try and push the front end over so we can at least get the ramps under it and work under it safely. And with that done, we can get the car up on the quick jacks and then start taking the wheels off. Now these were pretty seized onto the hub, so it did take a good kick to get them off, but once they were out, then we can drop the inner arch liner and get to all of the bolts to remove the wings. So we've got all the ones from the top of the wing removed, all the ones from inside the wing removed, but there is a couple which I'd forgotten, and that is behind the side skirt. So to get those off, we have to go inside the door shut and remove the door shut trim, which then reveals all of the clips which hold the side skirt in place from there. And with those removed, then we can pop the side skirt out of its home and get to the extra bolts to remove that wing. So there is the passenger side now removed, and although it doesn't actually look very damaged at all, there is frustratingly some damage on the inside of the wing which I may or may not be able to repair, so we'll have to come back to that at a later date. And now we've got all the ones to the passenger side out too, that can come off as well. Now those of you that know your BMWs, particularly your M cars, will notice something special about this car now that you can see this wing properly, but we'll come back to that a little bit later.
Right, wings are stripped off. Now we've got some bent arms to deal with down here, so got a Bluetooth in a tie rod, so
the other device.
yeah. Let's crack that one off then. We're going to use the big gun. Already lubricated it a bit.
Big bird.
Let's see if it's going to play ball.
Let's see if she comes straight off.
I think she's pretty tight there, mate.
I think she is.
There is no way you're doing that with that. Just a little love tap.
I have faith in the system.
Brute force. Yeah!
So by using a breaker bar and also something to lever off, we managed to crack off that track rod end and get that off, and then we could clean it up and get it removed. And then it's also time for this lower arm, which we're going to replace as well, because we're not 100% sure if it's bent or not. But we can tell that both of these have not been off for a long time because it kept snapping all of our Torx bits.
Yeah. Oh. That goes off. No. The third one. Wow. She's going. She's going. There she is.
Oh.
Now.
So now that's removed from the hub, it's just an 18mm nut and bolt, and then we can take it out of the subframe too.
So here is the old arm, and you can see we don't actually think this one's bent. We think it's actually supposed to be this shape, but the bush is knackered. So Ethan has gone through his box of M3 parts, which is ridiculous, and pulled out these new ones, which have a poly bush in them, so that's going to be much better anyway. And then at least we know that one, well, it can't be bent because it wasn't on the crash.
No, that's it.
Makes sense.
Off a pure race car.
So we're going to change that on both sides. We've got an inner tie rod on order, so we need to get that one off next. But the only problem is we're running out of T40s because they keep breaking, so we've only got 1 or 2 left. Hopefully we can still get that one off. That's the one that's on it. That's the replacement. So it took a good hit there, didn't it?
Yeah. I think it took most of the hit, didn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So now back underneath the cart, and I can remove this Felton plastic under tray, which didn't have many fixings holding it on at all, because most of them have been ripped off in the crash. Then after that, it's time for the big aluminium under tray, which unfortunately has sustained some damage, which may or may not be repairable. I've got to see the price for a second-hand one. Now it's time to have a look at getting that inner tie rod off, and to do that we've got to take the boot off first, which has a clip on either end. And then once that's off, we've got, I believe, a 36mm bolt or nuts that we've got to remove, and even with an adjustable spanner we couldn't get this off. Well, Ethan couldn't. But I had to show him how it's done with the big guns. We got this pipe wrench on it and that did the trick perfectly. But while I was doing that, Ethan then went about fitting the lower arm on the passenger side, which is the less damaged side of the car, to make sure that the polybush is the same on both sides. Now this car is listed as a category S, and I'm struggling to see why. This is the only bit of structural damage that I can see, which is on the inner wing, and it's took a really minor knock, and I'm going to try and pull this out just by bending the metal back to shape. So with that tab bent roughly back to where it should be, there's also a bit of damage at the front which I've got to knock back out, but on the whole, this doesn't really seem to justify it being a structurally damaged car to me. But maybe it's hiding a secret that we haven't seen yet, but only time will tell.
Well, progress is pretty sweet on the M3, but we do want to see what condition this car is in, and there is one easy way we can do that, and that is by checking for fault codes, which luckily couldn't be easier with OBD11. All we've got to do is grab their device, plug it into the OBD2 port, and then turn on the ignition and fire up the OBD11 app. Then using OBD11's dealership level diagnostics, which are available for BMW, Mini, VAG Group cars and Toyota and Lexus, we can check the full health of this car. But don't worry, if you've got any other brand of car, they've got basic diagnostics available for those too. So within seconds we can connect to my BMW and instantly it's realised that it's a BMW M3. And now it's just going to read the control units, and with the click of a button we can scan every single module on the car to check for fault codes. And this is a rare one. My BMW M3 has 0 fault codes, which is good, but we'll see if that changes when we get it fired up again. But that is not all you can do with OBD11. They also have one-touch applications, so you can add new software to your car to activate hidden functions.
And these are available on anything newer than an F-Series BMW or Mini, and also on any VAG Group product too. So do you remember on my Golf R, there was so many functionalities that we could add to it using OBD11.
So to grab yourself an OBD11 device, use the link in the description and discount code SLIX, which is going to save you some money. But at the moment they have a winter sale on, which gives you 20% off their next gen device, 100 in-app credits, a phone holder and also a carry pouch as well. But that is only active until the 15th of January, so make sure you're fast. Alright, so the inner tyre rod is off here. This side is ready to being built back up now. We're just waiting for the new inner tyre rod, which should be showing up tomorrow. We've got the new lower arm fitted here with the poly bush to match the other side. And now it's time for the slam panel to come off. The rad pack is actually okay, so we're going to leave that where it is and just remove the slam panel and replace everything from there. Then what we can do is change over this transmission cooler. We can do a top up and refresh of the transmission oil, service it, and then I think we're going to start it again.
Yeah, why not?
Hopefully this time it holds all the fluids.
Yeah, hopefully so.
So the first thing to unbolt is the air ducting, followed by the oil cooler from the frame. The oil cooler has got a slight twist in the bracket, but I'm sure that's perfectly savable. And from there, the slam panel is so easy to take off. There's 2 bolts on either side and also a securing pin, and that is pretty much it that holds it to the car. It's pretty simple. So after Ethan's popped out the bonnet cable and I've undone the last bolts, we're about ready to take it off. But it didn't want to come off without a fight because the oil cooler rubbers had kind of fused with the metal bracket which goes off towards the side of the car and didn't really want to come off without a bit of brute force.
One way of doing it.
There we go. First slam panel off.
Yeah, boy!
So although the damage on this is pretty minor and it's only cracked down low here, and it would be repairable.
Well, we've got a new one.
It's an M3, it's going to be right.
It's an M3, bro.
Then the next thing to take off is the broken transmission cooler, and this was super simple, so much easier than I thought it'd be. There's one bolt which holds this bracket on, which clamps both of the pipes down, and then once that's off you can just pull the pipes out and the oil cooler comes off. Simple as that. Now we can put this second-hand one on, which came off one of Ethan's cars because he's upgraded his one because he uses it a lot on track. This one will do the job absolutely fine for me because mine's going to be majoritarily used on the road. So once I've fitted the mounting rubbers up to the transmission cooler, I can then push that onto the brackets, which then attach with 2 10mm nuts, and then refit the pipes and we're good to go.
There we go, as quick as that new transmission cooler is fitted, and hopefully it doesn't leak anymore. So should we get some transmission fluid in it, do a little transmission service, then a little engine oil service, and
yeah, we'll get the small one undone.
Yeah. you'll just go under there like.
So the first thing to do before going underneath the car was cracking off the oil filter, which wasn't the easiest because I didn't have a socket the right size, but luckily we just managed to get it off with this adjustable spanner. Once we pulled that out and popped it into the drain pan, we could slide underneath and drop the engine oil out of the car. I just want to say a massive thank you as well to Nathan and Ethan from Stealth Movements, who popped out and gave me a hand just off their own back. They were just happy to get involved and enjoy doing it with me. It was a right laugh. So the E92 has 2 drain bungs. It's got one in the rear section of the sump and then one in the smaller front section of the sump too. So once we've got both of those out, all of the engine oil was drained and we could pop some fresh fluids in. So then we could pop in a fresh, new, genuine BMW filter. And once that was on, it was then time for some oil. This car takes 8.8 litres of oil, which is quite a lot, especially when it's 1060 from BMW. This service was not cheap, but we want to make sure this engine is in the best condition it can be, and regular servicing is the way to do that. And at this point, we don't know the last time the car was serviced, although the oil that came out looked pretty clean.
Right, 8.8 litres of really expensive oil put inside the engine. Now, I think before we do the gearbox, I'm going to stick the slam panel back on, then we're going to go underneath again, drain the transmission oil, then fill it back up, and then we're going to start it. And hopefully it runs okay, because if it doesn't, I'm going to cry.
We can pop on this new slam panel that's come off a E90 M3, again off one of Ethan's cars. But even though this is off a 4-door M3, it is the same part number, so it is exactly the same. And now it's back underneath the car to drain the transmission oil, so we wanted to be sure that there was enough in here, so we know that we've lost some, we don't know how much, so it just seems like the ideal opportunity just to flush it completely, drain every last drop out of it, and then replace every bit of the oil too. So we popped out the fill plug to allow it to flow through easier, and then popped out the drain bung, and then let it drain into the oil pan. The next thing to do now is fill it up, so we've got about 5 or 6 litre bottles of transmission fluid from BMW, so we've got to put these into this mini pump bottle and then manually pump it into the gearbox. What you've got to do here is manually pump it into the fill hole until it fills over, but then what you have to do is start it up, run it through the gears to circulate the oil, and then do it again. Now, I would have happily done this, but I couldn't keep Ethan off this car. He loved it.
Honestly, I've come up absolutely trumps here. I've basically just had to do nothing all day. I have been working, I promise. We're just enjoying ourselves, just having a good day in the garage.
Yeah.
It's literally dripping onto you.
Is that good enough, yeah?
You might just let it drip onto yourself like that.
I'm just proving the point, Christopher.
It's just stop proving the point.
There we go.
Right, here we go. We've got the gearbox oil in. It needs to be turned over for us to be able to fill that even more. We've got the engine oil in. We think the right amount. The transmission cooler's on. We're all buttoned up, I think. I think we're ready to start it. The jump pack's connected. Let's see what happens. Here we go.
When?
When?
Oh. Give it a minute.
She's seized.
Hold the button down, Chris.
Okay, one sec. Oh, does it need to be in park?
Yeah, probably best.
Okay, well, it's stuck in neutral.
Okay, just hold the button down.
It's gone into park now. Yeah.
Close the door. Close the door.
Lock the door. I don't think my baby little jump pack has got enough power to start this car, so we're going to get the bigger jump pack on it, and hopefully it works that time. Big burner.
It's a juicy girl.
Okay, there we go. Now it's come to life.
Hold the button down.
I will do, don't you worry.
Go.
Oh, she's still not got it. She wants to start.
But she just wouldn't, and it seems strange because we've started it before, but we can't get it to fire up now.
Nope. Bless her. Poor girl.
I have found a little hat on our battery, which probably is the cause that we have no power.
How did we get it started before without that on?
Bertha. That's all I can say.
Ready to go again?
I reckon we should try that.
Yeah.
Just, she's on.
Right. It's got to work this time. No! So the boys are just in the back, hooking it up directly to the battery. Oh, she's straight to life. Let's go. Damn it. Oh, so close.
Come on, girl. Come on, girl.
Come on. Yeah! No, no! So close, so close.
Go.
Yep. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah! Oh, that V8 noise is just unbeatable, honestly. I love it. What a car. Any leaks?
So now that the car can start and hold its own fluids, that means that we can run it up to temperature a bit and check it for leaks and see how healthy this engine is. And while the car's up on the ramps, we're going to run it through the gears a little bit to try and circulate some of the transmission fluid, so then we can top that up after we turn it off as well.
Your rocker cover's just leaking a little bit. You can just see it dribbling down the bottom end.
Oh yeah, it's wet down there, isn't it? But I think we could tell that anyway by how dirty it was. Yeah. We knew she was going to need some repairs. We knew it wasn't going to be perfect. It's a high miler, but she starts. Uncle Rodney's not knocking. I'm happy. So she does sound decent, but there is a slight whine coming from the front, and it's definitely not supercharged. So we think there's a pulley of something, which something's not right anyway. We're not going to figure out what it is yet, but listen. She's got a little bit of a whine to her.
So now once she's been ran through the gears a couple more times, we can then top up that transmission fluid again, and hopefully that's it buttoned up.
Now, if you've made it this far into this video, chances are you're enjoying it. So if you're not subscribed and you are watching right now, just go down there, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. But while we're here now, we're making pretty good progress. It's pretty solid, I can't lie. I'm very impressed with this car. And I said at the start of the video that I overpaid for it because this is a 2013 model that's a category S with 120,000 miles on it. I thought what I paid was a little steep originally. I paid £10,320 for this car from Copart, including all the auction fees, which for a 10-year-old high mileage BMW is quite a lot. But the research I'm doing now, I've got this car, and the more things I'm finding, the more I think it's becoming worth. So I had suspicions when buying this car that it might be a competition pack because of the wheels that were on it, but there's a lot of replicas going on, and it could have just had these wheels put on to make it look like that. But it turns out it is a genuine competition with the genuine wheels, and also that means I think it also comes with 10mm lowering springs on it as standard, so that means it's got to be worth a little bit more for a starting point. It does keep getting a little bit better. So when I went into BMW, I asked them if they had any information about this car, which it turns out they do. So this is all of the information that they had on their dealership system that they could give to me, including the complete spec list of the car. So that's every option that was put on it when it was new. And although we can't guarantee every single one of these the service, but we can see every time that the car has been to a dealership. So starting off in 2013, which is the year of the car, on 722 miles, it went into the Rochdale dealership, and then there's regular visits ever from then essentially, all the way up until November in 2022, on 119,000 miles, which indicates to me that it's quite possibly got a full dealership service history, which is really, really good. Because although it's not the most tidy example in the world, the fact that someone has cared about it that much and kept up with those service intervals is a real good indication that the car might be a good one. And on top of that, all 4 tyres are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, and they've got pretty reasonable tread, which again is a good indication that this car's been looked after and cared for. Buying from salvage auctions, we don't get a big folder of service history which the car might have had. All of these things add up, and I do think that this means that this car is better than I thought it was. And finally, the paintwork. Although the bonnet has had a pretty rough respray, which doesn't really matter now, and because this bonnet's aluminium, that's probably past saving. But when you buy a BMW brand new from the dealership, you get an option for something called an individual colour, which is a select colour palette, which costs considerably more and makes the cars a lot rarer because a lot fewer are made in those colours. And although at a quick glance you probably wouldn't tell that this car is an individual colour, especially with a film of dirt over it in auction photos, it turns out that this is actually a colour called Ruby Black, which is confirmed on here as the colour is Rubin Metallic Black, which is really nice actually. It's black without the light on it, but with the light on it, you get a real nice red sparkle in there, which is stunning. And after doing even more research, I've found out there's only 49 of these cars made in this colour, which makes this one really rare. Oh, and also here we've got electronic damper control, which is another option, which is essentially, you know, adjustable adaptive suspension. So that can just be controlled off a button inside the car. But if you can help me find more history about this car, and if you know the previous owner, or if you are the previous owner, please do get in touch on my Instagram at the bottom of the screen now. I'll leave the reg on screen as well so you can help find it. But also, if you have any parts, upgrade parts, or bits to fix this car, please do also let me know. It'll be a big help. Although at first I thought I did overpay on this car, it's now not looking so bad because it seems like this car is a really strong spec, being an individual colour, being the competition pack, and having a really good list of options. Let me know in the comments section, please do, what you think to the price that I paid for this. But it doesn't matter, money aside, I'm in love with this car. It's something special to me that I can't put my finger on, and I've always wanted one. I'm so glad I've got one now, and I'm so glad that you guys are in on this journey with me. And that's going to be it for this time. We're still waiting for some parts, so we're going to have to wait until the next video to get those on. But for now, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you're not already. And I'll catch you next time.